Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another knowledge lesson today. I'm excited about today's lesson. I think it will be really fun. We have been learning about lots of different types of people. We talked about Susan B. Anthony, who fought for women's suffrage and an end to slavery. We talked about Eleanor Roosevelt, who fought for human rights for a lot of different groups of people, and who was a First Lady of the United States. And we talked about Mary McLeod Bethune, who was a school teacher and did a lot to help African American girls. Today we are going to be talking about a very famous athlete. But before we get into his story, I want to use our Somebody Wanted But So Then sheet to review what we learned about Mary McLeod Bethune. So obviously, she is going to be our somebody. I'm going to go ahead and type her name in our somebody box. This PDF, this page, is on the first page of the PDF attached to this assignment. Go ahead and get that opened up, and we'll go through it together. Mary McLeod Bethune wanted what? What did she want? She wanted to open up her own school for African American girls. Remember, at this time, many African American girls were not allowed to go to school. And she thought it was important that they receive an education. So she wanted to open up a school for African American girls. But she wasn't able to do that right away. She had to wait for the right opportunity. I'm going to write that on our butt. She had to wait for the right opportunity. We've used these forms before and seen them before. As a reminder, they help us retell a story or help summarize information that we learned. Following a simple form, we say who we're talking about, what they wanted, what was standing in their way, what they did to solve it, and what happened at the end. So we've got somebody wanted in but so far. Mary McLeod Bethune wanted to open a school for African American girls. She had to wait to find the right opportunity. So she did wait, and she found an opportunity in Daytona Beach, Florida. So she moved there and opened up a school. Remember, when she moved there, she only had $1.50 to her name. So with just $1.50, she moved to Daytona Beach in Florida and opened up a school. Eventually, that school became a college that taught adults as well. While she was teaching at that school, she also taught classes to grown African American men to teach them to read and write so they would be able to vote. So at the end, that school grew and grew and grew. She eventually added boys, African American boys, joined the school, and it eventually became a 4-year college. Mary McLeod Bethune went on to open up a hospital and a library, and she was so intelligent and so wise that many presidents asked her for advice on how to make the world more fair for everyone. All right, my friends, we are going to jump into our story today. Today we are going to learn about a man named Jackie Robinson. I'm excited for today's lesson. He's one of my favorite people to learn about. Before we learn about him, though, we need to go over our vocabulary words. Teammates. Teammates are members of the same side working together for a common goal. The teammates worked together to pass the ball down the court and win the game. Hostility. Hostility is a feeling of unfriendliness, anger, or dislike. Instead of shaking hands at the end of the game, the other team showed hostility by walking off without congratulating us on our win. Intimidate. To intimidate means to try to make someone do something by making him or her afraid. My older brother tried to intimidate me into doing his chores by saying he would take away my toys if I didn't cooperate. Gamble. Gamble means to take a chance. If you plan an outdoor picnic on a cloudy day, you gamble that it will not rain. Challenge. When you challenge something, you question whether that thing is right or wrong. The coach decided to challenge the umpire's call that the player swung at the pitch. Some words that have a similar meaning to the word challenge might be question or doubt, while words that are antonyms or opposites of the word challenge might include words like accept, believe, and trust. Baseball has been a popular sport for a very long time. But did you know that there was a time when African American baseball players and white baseball players did not play together? This all changed when a man named Jackie Robinson showed the world what a great player he was. He also showed the world how much courage he had too. Remember, courage means bravery when facing a dangerous or difficult situation. This is the incredible story of Jackie Robinson. Jack Roosevelt Robinson was born in 1919 in Cairo, Georgia. He was the youngest of 5 children. His parents were sharecroppers, people who worked the land for others for very little pay. Jackie's father left his family when Jackie was a baby. His mother, Mally, moved the family to Pasadena, California, to be near relatives who would help her raise her children. The Robinsons lived in a small house on Pepper Street. Mally worked many different jobs to support her family. Despite hardships, Jackie grew up in a close and loving family. From an early age, Jackie was a talented athlete. When he became a student at John Muir High School, his brothers, Mac and Frank, encouraged him to play sports. Jackie played football, basketball, baseball, and tennis, and he ran track too. He played shortstop and catcher on the baseball team, quarterback on the football team, and guard on the basketball team. In track and field, he won awards for the long jump. After high school, Jackie attended Pasadena Junior College. Again, he played basketball, football, baseball, and he ran track. On the football team, he played quarterback and safety. He was a shortstop and leadoff hitter for the baseball team, and he broke school long jump records. Before long, the University of California in Los Angeles, also known as UCLA, offered Jackie an athletic scholarship. We've talked about scholarships a little bit when we talked about Mary McLeod Bethune. A scholarship is money to help someone pay to go to school. Jackie was happy to accept. While at UCLA, Jackie proved himself to be a good student and an amazing athlete. As a UCLA student, he competed in 4 sports: baseball, basketball, football, and track. Jackie was selected for the All-American football team, which is a team of players from different schools who are the very best players in the country. When Jackie left college, he began playing football for the Honolulu Bears, a Hawaiian semi-professional team. When the United States became involved in World War II, Jackie joined the United States Army. After 2 years, he was promoted to the officer rank of second lieutenant. Growing up, Jackie had been aware of discrimination. When Jackie joined the Army, he realized that there was discrimination there too. Jackie felt the need to challenge these attitudes. When Jackie was in the Army, he refused an order to sit at the back of a military bus. Jackie felt that the color of his skin should not determine where he could or could not sit. Jackie was court-martialed or charged with a crime for refusing this order. However, at his trial, he was found to be not guilty. Jackie left the Army toward the end of World War II. He was signed to play shortstop for the Kansas City Monarchs. The Monarchs were a team that belonged to something called the National Negro League. It was in this league that African American players were allowed to play baseball. Jackie traveled all over the Midwest during that season with this league. One day, a man named Branch Rickey saw Jackie play. Branch Rickey was the president of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Branch thought that Jackie was an incredible player. He wanted Jackie to play for his team. The only problem was that the Brooklyn Dodgers was an all-white team. Remember, back then, African Americans and white people did not play professional sports together. They had separate leagues for African Americans and white people. Branch met with Jackie and told him that he needed Jackie to be very brave. He wanted Jackie to become the first African American to play in the all-white Major League Baseball program. This was referred to as breaking the color barrier. This meant that before this time, a person's skin color was a barrier, or something that stopped them from playing in many sports leagues. Branch wanted Jackie to break this barrier. He explained to Jackie that at first he would probably be treated badly by most of the fans, and even by some of his fellow players. But Branch was willing to gamble that Jackie was strong enough to break the color barrier and change attitudes. He believed that Jackie had self-control and courage. Before Jackie agreed, he asked Branch a question. Jackie asked, "Are you looking for someone who is afraid to fight back?" Branch replied, "No. I need a player with guts enough not to fight back." So Branch wants someone that will respond to this unfairness with non-violence. Jackie Robinson agreed to be that man. Jackie traveled to Daytona Beach, Florida for spring training. He began playing with the Montreal Royals, a training team for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie played well. The most difficult days for Jackie were often when he was off the field and traveling with the other players. During this time, Jackie could not stay in the same hotels as his teammates. He could not eat at the same restaurants and diners. Jackie did not like this one bit, but he was determined to become the first African American Major League Baseball player in the United States. And then it happened. Just 6 days before the start of the 1947 baseball season, Jackie got the call he had been waiting for. The Dodgers wanted him to play. Sadly, not all of his teammates were happy about this. Some said that they would rather sit out and miss a game than play with Jackie. But Jackie's teammate, Pee Wee Reese, came to his defense. "You can hate a man for many reasons," Pee Wee said. "Color is not one of them." On April 15, 1947, when Jackie put on the Brooklyn Dodgers uniform wearing number 42, he broke the color barrier. As the first African American player on a major league team, Jackie made his debut at Ebbets Field for a crowd of 26,623 people, including more than 14,000 African American fans. How do you think Jackie was feeling on the day he finally got to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers? Jackie knew he would have to be strong and concentrate on the game and nothing else. At first, there was a great deal of hostility. People called him names. Jackie just played baseball. Some of his teammates would not sit with him. No matter. Game after game, Jackie focused on playing, even when pitchers threw balls and tried to hit him. In one game during his first year as a professional player, Jackie received a 7-inch gash, or big cut, on his leg. It was a deliberate injury inflicted on him during a game between the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. It was in an attempt to intimidate him. Still, Jackie refused to quit. He simply said, "I am not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being." Later in his baseball career, Jackie hit a home run, a triple, a double, and a single, all in the same game. Jackie could run, hit, steal bases, and play second base like nobody else. His friend and teammate, Duke Snider, said, he was the greatest competitor I have ever seen. By the end of his first year in the major leagues, Jackie had played in 151 games for the Dodgers, scored 125 runs, and had 175 hits, including 31 doubles, 5 triples, and 12 home runs. So a triple and a double, that is talking about how many bases he was able to make it to. So he hit the ball, and if it was a double, he was able to run to first base and then on to second. A triple would be he made it all the way to the third base, and a home run would be he made it past all 3 bases and back to home plate. He was named Rookie of the Year, and in 1949, he was chosen as the most valuable player in the National League. Jackie had proven that the world of professional sports is far better when everyone can participate in it. During Jackie's career, Dodgers played in 6 World Series. Jackie played in every single one. He could hit, and he was fast. He averaged more than 110 runs per season from 1947 to 1953 and had a 311 career batting average. Jackie helped the Dodgers win 6 National League pennants and 1 World Series title. These impressive achievements make Jackie Robinson one of the best players to have ever played Major League Baseball. Jackie retired from baseball in 1957. Jackie said, "The way I figured it was even with baseball, and baseball was even with me. The game had done much for me, and I had done much for it." Jackie Robinson was the first African American inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He received many other honors too. In 1997, Major League Baseball honored Jackie by retiring his number from all Major League Baseball teams. This is a very special honor, and it means that no other Major League player on any team can ever wear his number. His number, the number that was on his shirt, was 42. Every year since 2004, however, all Major League players wear Jackie's number, 42, every April 15th to remember the important role that Jackie Robinson played in Major League Baseball. All right, my friends. Today, we learned about some people who immigrated from what country? You've got it, from China. What immigration center did they go through? Angel Island. Is Angel Island on the west or east coast of the United States? Angel Island was on the west coast by California. What kind of jobs did many Chinese immigrants have? A lot of Chinese immigrants had dangerous and difficult jobs, like jobs in woolen mills, jobs on the railroads, in laundries, and in other buildings, or building jobs. The author told us in our read aloud today that Chinese immigrants sometimes experienced hostility from other Americans. What are some reasons that our author told us this happened? Some of the reasons that Chinese immigrants were treated so badly by people who already lived in the United States were that they had different traditions or customs that the people who already lived in the United States didn't understand, which made them nervous or afraid. That doesn't excuse that behavior. It's still not okay for them to have treated them that way. They were also worried that they would take the jobs that people already living in America needed. Despite this hostile treatment that many Chinese immigrants received, what pull factors brought Lin Wen and his father to the United States? Rumors of the gold mountain where they could find gold and become rich. Why do you think they chose to live in San Francisco's Chinatown instead of other parts of San Francisco? In Chinatown, there were many other Chinese immigrants, so they had people who understood them and were similar to them, and it was safer for them. They faced less criticism and hostility because they were surrounded by people who shared similar customs and beliefs. How was life as an immigrant? I want you to think about life as an immigrant for Lin Wen and life as an immigrant for Sean and Fiona. How were their experiences as immigrants similar? What things did they have in common? I want you to see if you can think of two things that they had in common. Share them with whoever is helping you today. When you are finished with that conversation, go ahead and open up the PDF attached to this assignment, and we'll get started on another puzzle piece. All right, my friends, go ahead and open up that PDF again. Go ahead and scroll down to the second page. Again, we'll probably want to turn this one on its side to make it a little easier for us to write on. If you would like to keep it upright so we don't have to switch back when we write our poem, it's okay too. Do whatever's easiest for you. The subject of our free verse poem today is, of course, going to be Jackie Robinson. We are going to take some time to fill out our bubble map with ideas about Jackie Robinson. What sort of things did he do? What kind of person was he? The most important thing he did that we talked about today was that he broke the color barrier in professional sports. That means he broke down that limitation that people with different skin colors could not play sports together. He broke the color barrier, which allowed African American players to play on the major leagues. He, of course, was a very talented baseball player. Not only did he break the color barrier, but he was one of the most talented baseball players in Major League Baseball history. Move that so it fits a little bit better on my bubble. Now remember, Branch Rickey, who managed the Brooklyn Dodgers, when he came to Jackie Robinson with this idea, he chose Jackie Robinson specifically because he believed that Jackie Robinson was strong and brave enough to respond to people treating him unfairly or even calling him names or trying to hurt him the way that Branch Rickey knew he would need to respond for this to work. Did Branch Rickey think that Jackie would react violently? No. He knew that Jackie Robinson would respond peacefully or with nonviolence, which is what they needed. Peaceful, nonviolent responses, even when people were not treating him very fairly. I think that a word that we could use to describe Jackie Robinson would be courageous. He knew that he would be in a dangerous situation and that he would be treated unfairly. He chose to go anyway and to fight to break down that color barrier. All right, my friends, I want you to see if you can think of 4 other things about Jackie Robinson. You could talk about his time in the Army and when he refused to follow an order to sit in the back of the bus, or some more of his accomplishments as a baseball player. We talked about his early athletic career too, and all of the other sports he played as well. You decide what details or facts about Jackie Robinson that you would like to put in those last 4 bubbles. When you have filled out those last 4 bubbles, I want you to take the information in those bubbles and use it to help you write a poem that explains how you feel about Jackie Robinson and his accomplishments, that talks about what he did and your opinion on it, about what kind of person he was. That poem is going to go on our next page. We'll flip this one back right side up so we can see it a little bit better. Remember, you can title your poem whatever you would like, but a good idea would be his name. You'll want to use your ideas from your bubbles to create a poem about Jackie Robinson. This will, of course, be a free verse poem, which means that there are no rules you have to follow for the poem. You do not have to write incomplete sentences all the time. You may use words or phrases. When you are finished with your poem about Jackie Robinson, go ahead and turn this one in, and you are all finished with knowledge today. You might notice that there are more pages attached to that PDF. These last 2 are a letter for your family, so they know what you will be learning about over the next week. All right, my friends, happy poem writing. I can't wait to read them when you're done.